I see you there, wondering if you might be autistic. So what is the first step? Because the internet is a vast, vast and scary place with all the misunderstanding and misinformation about autism out there. Even as we head into 2025, it can feel overwhelming. There are books, videos, forums, social media, TikTok too. Shudder. But there is no brain scan, no blood test, no X-ray that you can take to determine if you have autism. It is identified, or if you prefer the medical language, diagnosed, by behavioural observations and conversations with trained professionals who look at how you experience the world. And just like if you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person, it's true that if you've met one doctor, you've met one doctor. They're not all the same. Probably the best starting point for the curious is the RAADS-R, which you can complete online for free, taking you around maybe 30 minutes, give or take. Or if for some reason you're in a rush, there's the RAADS-14, which takes about the same time as it took me to make this cup of tea. Available in the merch store, link below. Hey friends, I'm Mike, a late identified autistic adult, and today we're going to talk about the RAADS screening assessment for autism. You can complete it in the comfort of your own space at home, although the creator of the test recommends doing it with a clinician present, to clarify the questions, because if you're like me, you're going to have questions about the questions. Being a little bit extra is a common autistic trait, and I definitely drove my psychologist up the wall because not only filtering out all this ambiguity is an autistic trait, but it's literally my day job as a software engineer too. Debugging lines of code, debugging questionnaires, same difference. First, validity. The RAADS-R has been scientifically validated, which doesn't mean it's perfect, but it does mean it's reasonably good at identifying autistic characteristics, as one study puts it. It's similar to the AQ, Autism Quotient, another quiz-style assessment form, although the RAADS-R also includes dimensions that the AQ doesn't, like sensory and motor talent challenges. Well, language, as well as sensory and motor challenges. Disclaimer, it's just a step, not a formal diagnosis. It's a great starting place if you suspect that you might be on the autism spectrum, but it also has weaknesses in that if you're high masking and you're routinely suppressing autistic traits, some of the items in the screening quiz might not capture your experiences. I'm thinking women, transgender, and non-binary people, because if you're a pro-masker, this leads to underreporting of the autistic behaviours that diagnosticians will be looking for. And the RAADS-R will be too. It's only used Western samples, and only relatively recently revalidated itself with French and Swedish examples. But I think it's all Western social norms. The validation cohorts were all over the age of 17 with no intellectual disabilities in the US or learning disabilities in the UK. Ready? Let's go. If you'd like to skip to my results, there is a timestamp and a chapter marker below. Please read each statement below and choose the answer that best fits your experiences during social interactions. Well, I will. Question 1. I am a sympathetic person. Yes, true now and when I was young. Question 2. I often use words and phrases from movies and television in conversations. True now and when I was young. I think they're asking about echolalia, although I'd say culturally everyone in the UK has used TV and film references in conversation at some point, some of us more than others. Question 3. I'm often surprised when others tell me I've been rude. True now and when I was young. Two things. Why do people feel like they can say these things to me? It's a boundary issue sometimes, don't you think? I don't go around telling people they're being rude in general. Oh, you're being rude. Although yes, sometimes I may not have done the right face dance, as Pierre Novelli would call it, and consequently get told off for it. You too? Question 4. Sometimes I talk too loudly or too softly and I'm not aware of it. True now and when I was young. My dad basically shouts when he gets excited, especially at restaurants. Thanks, Dad. Question 5. I often don't know how to act in social situations. Now, I'm answering true now and when I was young, because when I was young, I had absolutely no idea at all. I was pretty oblivious, although I grew up in the 80s when the golden rule was children should be seen and not heard, which basically meant sitting quietly, play discreetly, don't cause an inconvenience to anybody. We want to pretend we're childless is what I think it means. Although now, I think I could write a book about it, because you don't get to your 40s and not learn some of these cues, if not all of them really. Off topic, A bit, but there's a trope that autistic people are unable to learn social cues, as though we're cast as being a bit thick or unfriendly. And I don't think this is true at all. But when interacting with neurotypicals, it means having to make a conscious effort to play by their rules, to be the part, which is usually suppressing some autistic traits, which can be really tiring. And I bet we get to this later. Question 6. I can put myself in other people's shoes. I'd say B. True only now, but that's because when I was younger, I didn't really think about being in other people's shoes, mostly because I had wide feet. I think what this question is asking is about cognitive empathy, the ability to understand and predict how others might think or feel in a given situation. And yes, I can do this now because I've learned how to. But when I was younger, it wasn't intuitive at all. I had to consciously develop this through observation and experience. Question 7. I have a hard time figuring out what some phrases mean, like, "You are the apple of my eye." True, but only when I was younger than 16. Without Googling it, I don't know what apple of someone's eye, where that came from. What does it mean? Well, I know it means like, hey, this is their, what it means is someone is the apple of someone's eye. It means that they are their delight, they're everything. But I don't really know that, and some of these idioms are interesting from a historical and anthropomorphic perspective. We actually have a book on idioms, which is fascinating, just like, hey, have a cup of tea and read through some idioms and where they came from. It really is interesting, but completely counterproductive. And until you first hear that they're an idiom and it's first explained to you or you first learn what they mean, no, you don't know what it means. Question 8. I only like to talk to people who share my special interests. True now and when I was young, but to be fair, I'm interested in quite a wide array of things. A lot of science and technology. I have my marine and wildlife interests, renewable energy, autism. I'm a vegan. I'm often reading, plant-based menus and things and recipes and technology, like I said, and it makes it quite easy to find friends who share those interests. Although generally, if you're a kind person and you're into something, whatever it is, could be choo-choo trains, stamp collecting, I'm sure we can chat quite comfortably. You can tell me all about it. Question 9. I focus on details rather than the overall idea. Yep, I'm monotropic AF. The first video on my channel goes into it. Question 10. I always notice how food feels in my mouth. This is more important to me than how it tastes. True, but only when I was younger than 16. Some autists can be particularly restrictive about what they eat, possibly even eating just the one thing, or 1 or 2 or 3 things. They may have restrictive food intake, such as ARFID, a condition like that. And I'm not particularly restrictive, but an element of being vegan is how certain things like pork and chicken, for me, can feel, no matter how well they might have been seasoned. Now, this is true even now. I had some plant-based alternative barbecue chicken recently, and I spat it out. I couldn't eat it. It felt like I had a warm bird in my mouth. Does that make sense? 11. I miss my best friends or family when we were apart for a long time. True now and when I was young, but I'm not entirely sure what they're getting at here. I might not have seen my very closest friends for a year or more, but I know that they're there for me if I need them, and I hope they feel the same, or I know they do. And I miss them, but I'm okay with that. At this point in my life, I don't feel insecure about my secure relationships. Does that make sense? When I was young, I was in a military family, so we'd move towns every 6 to 9 months. I've been to a lot of schools, and I've met a lot of people. I don't have the experience of having that childhood friend from like the moment you're born, from the ward all the way through life. I don't have that experience, so I don't know if I would have answered it differently if I did. Question 12. Sometimes I offend others by saying what I'm thinking, even if I don't mean to. True now or when I was young. Honestly, I have no desire to wish to offend anyone. And I work hard on not doing so by mistake. Keeping my opinions to myself, maybe, and the tens of thousands of random people on the internet. That sort of thing. Question 13. I only like to think and talk about a few things that interest me. Yeah. As evidenced on my school reports every single year, education for me, while we're talking about it, became so much more tolerable when the 12 subjects became 3, which became 1. Question 14. I'd rather go out to eat in a restaurant by myself than with someone I know. I don't mind eating by myself, honestly. I prefer it. But who is this someone exactly? Are they content with being peacefully companionable? Or do I have to do the social heavy lifting for both of us? Is there an atmosphere? Is there something I've not done, or it's my fault or something? Is there some weird shit going on or not? And that's an interesting thought, actually, because if I say think of someone who drains you, you've all immediately got a name and a face in mind. And when I say think of someone who gives you energy, you know who that is immediately. Maybe you don't, but if it's someone who gives me energy, then yes, it's someone who drains me, then I'll have to think about it. I'm going to say D, never true, but with lots of footnotes. Question 15. I cannot imagine what it would be like to be someone else. Never true. I mean, I don't read a huge amount of fiction, but come on. Question 16. I have been told that I am clumsy or uncoordinated. True now and when I was young, except in the ocean, where I'm basically a fish. Or a seal, if depends if I've had lunch. Question 17. Others consider me odd or different. Yep, moving on. Question 18. I understand when friends need to be comforted. I'm going to say never true, but obviously I do sometimes. And who wrote this question, by the way? Have they heard of black and white thinking? Question 19. I am very sensitive to the way my clothes feel when I touch them. How they feel is much more important to me than how they look. True now and when I was young. Question 20. I like to copy the way certain people speak and act. It helps me appear more normal, I would like to say in quotation marks. Yep, true. Question 21. It can be very intimidating for me to talk to more than one person at the same time. Yes, but if I'm talking to a crowd or a group of people, that just counts to me in my mind as one nebulous mass of a person. I have more difficulty in that respect talking into lights than I do talking to people. In fact, if you turn the lights up, you can't see people. Pro tip. Question 22. If I have to act normal to please other people, I have to act normal to please other people and make them like me. Well, I'm going to say true now when I was young, but honestly, a lot of the time these days, I just don't give a shit. Question 23. Meeting new people is usually easy for me. Be true only now. I'd say peak uncomfortable is ages 5 to 25 for younger Mike. Question 24. I get highly confused when someone interrupts me when I'm talking about something I am very interested in. Now, this is not only true now and when I was young, but if I'm not talking and just thinking about or working on something that has my entire attention, it's like everything I've thought about and worked on for hours could be just built up like a house of cards. And when they get knocked over, or God forbid, a puzzle gets shattered back to individual pieces, separate pieces, hundreds of pieces. It's not just confusing, it's incredibly frustrating. Question 25. It is difficult for me to understand how other people are feeling when we're talking. I'm going to say that's true only when I was younger because I've learned things now. Come on, we grow. Question 26. I like having a conversation with several people, for instance, around a dinner table at school or at work. Yeah, D, never true. How's Christmas and those New Year parties going? Just let me know. 27. I take things too literally, so I often miss what people are trying to say. Yep, that's an A. It's always been true, but I'd like to rephrase this question because I always take things too literally is one way to look at it. Incorrectly imprecise is the flip side to that coin, and sometimes this might just be the double empathy problem at play, and it's not me being too literal that's the problem here. Oh my God, he's a robot. I just don't understand why he thinks that way. You know what I mean? Yes, I think literally, but not pathologically. It's pathologically to just say one thing when you mean to go over that way. Do you know what I mean? To point that way when you mean there. That feels wrong to me. Question 28. It's very difficult for me to understand when someone is embarrassed or jealous. Yeah, unless they make it reasonably obvious, or there's a thing, or people are laughing, or whatever. Yeah, of course. Question 29. Some ordinary textures that do not bother others feel very offensive when they touch my skin. Well, it's A and B. I mean, this is the microfiber question, but I can't recall how much this bothered me when I was younger. I mean, say for example with clothing, I wore whatever I was given, but on the other hand, some people cannot stand textures like cream being applied to their skins. So using that as a calibration measure, we're going to go B. But it's a soft B. Question 30. I get extremely upset when the way I like to do things is suddenly changed. Yep, true now and when I was younger. I don't know about extremely because it can be extremely. It can be sort of, as we say in the UK, letter to the editor, that level, so that's how out of how dysregulated you are. or just miffed and disappointed or stressed out. But, you know, so I don't know, there's the word extremely there, but yeah, I get upset, it's fine, I'd go there. Question 31. I have never wanted or needed to have what other people call an intimate relationship, never true. Question 32. It is difficult for me to start and stop a conversation. I need to keep going until I'm finished. True now, and when I was young, that conversation might continue in my head, mind. Question 33. I speak with a normal rhythm. And I don't know what they mean by normal rhythm, but I'm going to say D. Never true, I guess. I don't know. I speak maybe when I was young. I don't know. True. This is a difficult question. I'd like to just wipe it. I'm going to go with never true. I don't know. Because a lot of the way I am is learnt. It's a changed behaviour over time. It's not like, it's really difficult. Question 34. The same sound, colour or texture can suddenly change from very sensitive to very dull. I'm going to say, not for me, never true. Yeah. Question 35. The phrase, I've got you under my skin.
I've got you under my skin.
Makes me uncomfortable. Yeah, I know it's an idiom, but it's a weird one. Question 36. Sometimes the sound of a word or high-pitched noise can be painful to my ears. Yes. Question 37. I'm an understanding type of person. I would say so. Am I? Let me know your opinions about me. Give me your unsolicited feedback in the comment section below. Question 38. I do not connect with characters in movies and cannot feel what they feel. At first I thought, true when I was younger than 16, but honestly I cried during the BBC's version of Chronicles of Narnia, so...
We have come to see Aslan.
39. I cannot tell when someone is flirting with me. True now and when I was young. There's a little clip there, it's been cut off of Patreon, it's on Patreon. But flirting is a really unusual thing because it almost entirely relies on neurotypical social cues. What would autistic flirting look like, and how would we separate this from other autistic love languages like pebbling? I don't know, let me know. Question 40. I can see in my mind, in exact detail, things that I'm interested in. True now and when I was young. Question 41. I keep lists that interest me, even when they have no practical use. For example, sports statistics, train schedules, calendar dates, historical facts and dates. I mean, true only now, I would say, but like not literal pockets filled with paper, but like digitally. And although if you have pockets full of paper, I guess there's nothing wrong with that, but it depends what's written on them, I guess. It's all context, isn't it? Question 42. When I feel overwhelmed by my senses, I have to isolate myself to shut them down. True only now. Because maybe that's more to do with the fact that now I consciously quieten myself and use my being an adult or my social credit, you know, to just remove myself from the situation. And there was like not much room for that. There was no wiggle room for escaping when I was younger. And consequently, that's why being younger just felt like childhood was just this perpetuated or punctuated with these meltdowns, as long as there was meltdowns, rather than now where I don't really have meltdowns and I have much more control over my environment. I could tick A, but I didn't have the option to isolate myself in the same way that I do now, which ironically means that I'm less isolated now than I've ever been. Does that make sense? Question 43. I like to talk things over with my friends. True only now. Question 44. I cannot tell if somebody is interested or bored with what I'm saying. I mean, this is an A. I mean, there are obvious cues like people turning their feet away from you as you're talking, as if they're kind of trying to step out of the conversation. Or for now, the average view duration going down on my YouTube videos will tell me that people are like, I'm losing people. And you don't know until it's all done and uploaded as well, which is like kind of bad because it's like, oh, I can't fix it now. If only there was an average view duration in reality or an interest over people's heads, like some sort of Sims, like Moodle that shows you what they're feeling. That would be useful. Maybe in the future. Question 45. It can be very hard to read somebody's face, hand and body movements when they are talking. Yes, true now and when I was young. But to be honest, I would say I'm actually pretty good at it now, but it does take away from actually thinking about what they're saying. Question 46. The same thing, like clothes or temperatures, can feel very different to me at different times. True now and when I was young, but like totally context dependent. Totally context dependent. Sometimes jumping in the sea when it's cold feels cold. Sometimes jumping in the sea when it's cold doesn't feel cold. I don't know, it's so context dependent. So many factors. I feel very comfortable with dating or being in social situations with others. Very comfortable? No. But I don't think, like when I was in primary school, like in a classroom, normal day to day, I don't think I was like very uncomfortable. It's a strange question. I have no idea how to answer it correctly. So I'm saying C. But I don't think that any of the options are valid for me. So where are the guidance notes? Like, give me more context. Give me more examples. Question 48. I try to be as helpful as I can when other people tell me their personal problems. True. And when I was young, I am a troubleshooter. Question 49. I have been told that I have an unusual voice, for example, flat, monotone, childish, or high-pitched. I am higher pitched when I'm excited, but in general, I'm going to say never true, but, little asterisk, people have commented or made remarks about my volume level or energy level, but I don't have the flat effect. Question 50. Sometimes a thought or a subject gets stuck in my mind and I have to talk about it even if no one is interested, even if it's in my head, to keep myself occupied. Yes. Question 51. I do certain things with my hands over and over again, like flapping, is that a flap? Twirling sticks or strings, waving things by my eyes. All of the above and more, all the time. It's a good time. Question 52. I have never been interested in what most of the people I know consider interesting. Football, sports, all that sort of stuff. Politics, but just like petty sort of politics and hierarchy stuff. And so-and-so did this and so-and-so said that. Is not interested. If I only went to a school where people were interested in like sharks and marine creatures, that would be really cool, but I didn't and I got bullied, so yeah, that's it. Moving on. Question 53. I am considered a compassionate type of person. I'm going to go with A again. I'm awesome. Let me know. It's hard to be a judge of this yourself. It's hard to be like, I can't judge that. 54. I get along with other people by following a set of specific rules that help me look normal. I'm going to say normal in quotation marks. I think this question should be in the DSM-6 when it drops, or it's DLC, if there is one. Question 55. It is very difficult for me to work and function in groups. Not really. When I was younger and there was like a school group project on, it was up to me to do the group project on my own, while the other kids just like laughed and played around, passed notes with each other, had a great time. But when I'm older, I still do the group projects by myself now, except I now get paid by the others, by the other group members to do it. I feel better about that now. Question 56. When I'm talking to someone, it is hard to change the subject. If the other person does so, I can get very upset and confused. Yeah, it's true now, but the thing is, define very upset and confused. I just tend to just like, if that sort of stuff is happening, usually the kind of like dinner type of situation, then I just tend to just not participate and just sit still. I tend to fold napkins and things. Question 57. Sometimes I have to cover my ears to block out painful noises like vacuum cleaners or people talking too much or too loudly. I'm changing cover my ears, which feels kind of infantile, as an adult, to wear headphones or earplugs. In which case, it's not only true now and when I was young, although the headphones that I had back then, they were the crap. They were like the little bandy ones, like from Stranger Things. But I actually wear noise-cancelling headphones now. My Apple AirPods, other brands are available, in advance of any expected noise. Why not? Question 58. I can chat and make small talk with people. I'm saying D, never true, but that's also not true because I can. So British small talk follows a very specific set script that's so easy to parody because basically nobody enjoys it, not even neurotypicals, they just perform it. It's a water cooler moment and I can do it. And there are videos, I've seen clips from other content creators parodying it because it's just the same and everyone's like, oh, same, yeah. Funny because ironically, once I said, we don't have to do this to a colleague at work. Yeah. Question 59. Sometimes things that should feel painful are not. For instance, when I hurt myself or burn my hand on the stove. Look, burning my hand on the stove is going to get through to me. In fact, it won't get through to my brain. It will literally just like, it bounces off your spine and straight back again and immediately. But I am currently sporting scrapes and bruises that I do not know where I got them from. But I am saying like never true because burning a hand on a stove and not feeling it is congenital insensitivity to pain, which is an incredibly rare and very dangerous condition. And if the question didn't have that example, I would have said always true. But because it does have that example, it's never true. Question 60. When talking to someone, I have a hard time telling when it is my turn to talk or listen. Yep, always true, it still is. Question 61. I'm considered a loner by those who know me best. True now and when I was young, but for those that don't know me best, they'd probably say I was pretty social, like some sort of social butterfly. Question 62. I usually speak in a normal tone. True, but only now. It's practice. It's a practice thing. I'm doing it even now. Question 63. I like things to be exactly the same day after day, and even small changes in my routines upset me. Now, this was true for me as a younger child, but now, not really. It's a rather ambiguous question, especially since I do enjoy novelty too, especially when I've slept well and have loads of energy, spell slots, spoons, a feature of ADHD, the craving of something new and stimulating. But craving familiarity is my default, so I'm going to say true now and when I was young. Question 64. How to make friends and socialise is a mystery to me. C. True only when I was a child. Because although the Scratching Post Discord has nearly a couple of hundred members and everyone's lovely, and 2 friends from it have even given homes to 4 of Hydra's kittens, so I think I'm okay making friends with people. It's not a mystery. It's basically just about having common and shared values and interests, having things in common and shared values and interests. Question 5. It calms me to spin around or to rock in a chair when I'm feeling stressed. Yes. Vestibular stims all day. We're having a good time. Question 66. The phrase, he wears his heart on his sleeve, does not make sense to me. True only when I was younger than 16. You don't wear your heart, especially outside your body. Put it away. No organs outside your body. Idioms like this one, and the one we heard earlier in this, can be learned. A bit like algebra, though. I just substitute the idiom for the phrase that they actually mean, which in this case means this person's not hiding anything. That's what they mean. Just say that then. Question 67. If I'm in a place where there are many smells, textures to feel, noises or bright lights, I feel anxious or frightened. True now when I was young, but asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. I know friends would watch this video and go, but Mike, no, you do this, but it's about the unexpected hand slime. The smell of damp piss in the car park. The smell of day-old Burger King on that London train. There. But on the other hand, it could be this smells, sights and sounds of a amazing outdoor kind of cafe eatery kind of place where you've got the different smells from the different food places. You're hungry and trying to pick somewhere to go and pick somewhere to sit. It could be the smell, sights and sounds of a public fireworks display. My dad hates these. He completely freezes up. He did 20 years in the army. He froze up before, he froze up afterwards. I don't mind them, but an unexpected fireworks display in your garden or your office or your house, I don't know. Work with me on this. That would be really unhelpful. I can tell when somebody says one thing but means something else. Never true. I suspect this is an issue for many autistic people in that they could be targets for manipulators that thrive in that little zone between what is said and what is meant, because it's not always the same. Question 69. I like to be by myself as much as I can. Say or B. It's very true, but I wonder, I said only now because I can't think of an example from my childhood of the contrary. Okay, question 70. I keep my thoughts stacked in my memory like they're on filing cards and pick out the ones I need by looking through the stack and finding the right one, or another unique way. True now, and when I was young, my brain is basically just a box of filed cards. Question 71. The same sound sometimes seems very loud or very soft, even though I know it hasn't changed. I guess true when I was younger, maybe? I don't know. I don't know. Question 72. I enjoy spending time eating and talking with my family and friends. True. As you get older, you don't take people, like family and friends, for granted so often, right? Sometimes it's because I haven't seen my closest friends in many months or even years. And yes, I do want to spend time with them. I do want to go out and eat with them. I do want to hang around with them. I do want to chat until the small hours of the morning. I do want to spend time with them. On the other hand, extended family Christmas dinners, weddings, funerals, I don't know, insert thing here, office Christmas parties, I don't want to say it too often in case they come true. Yikes. Question 73. I can't tolerate things I dislike like smells, textures, sounds, or colours. I'm going to say true now when I was young, and I've always thought this is one of the biggest reasons why there might be something off about me. I've always felt like a broken neurotypical. Like everyone else is coping with this environment, so why can't I? Why can't I get my work done here in this busy, noisy cafe? Why can't I enjoy a cup of tea in a Costa coffee where there's so much condensation in the air, it's just dripping off the glass and the air is thick and humid? Why can't I enjoy myself? Everyone else seems to be smiling around me. What the hell's going on? Why am I the grumpy one? Buy a dehumidifier. And question 74. I don't like to be hugged or held. It's never true. Well, it isn't always never true. It's like a bit of medium here, not always true and never somewhere in the middle, because I like hugs, but it's context dependent. Someone who's been cooking recently or smoking or has poor hygiene or unexpected skin moisture on the neck or strong perfume. Other than that, hugs are great. Question 75. When I have to go somewhere, I have to follow a very familiar route, or I can get very confused and upset. True, only when I was younger than 16. I like exploring, especially with technologies. When I was in Bristol a few months ago, I would navigate somewhere on my iPhone and follow the haptic prompts for where to go on my Apple Watch, so I could explore and rely on the discrete directions. This world no longer exists, but there used to be a world without maps in your pocket. You kind of had to guess, or go off the sound of distant clubbing, or navigate by the stars or the sun or whatever. I mean, I'm kind of joking, but you used to buy, if you're driving, used to buy road maps of the motorway network so you can find out where you're going. I'm not even joking. I am not joking. Question 76. It is difficult to figure out what other people expect of me. True, but why don't people just state what they want? And probably because it requires pushing a boundary. The reason why some people are hard to read with their expectations is because they're kind of, okay? I do sort of have a video on this regarding boundaries earlier on in my video catalogue. That's what I found. I found most of the time it involves pushing a boundary, which is why they don't explicitly say it. Question 77. I like to have close friends. True now and when I was young. Question 78. People tell me that I give too much detail. True now and when I was young. Question 79. I'm often told that I ask embarrassing questions. True now when I was young. And I tend to point out other people's mistakes. For question 80. True now and when I was young as well. And I think that's one of the reasons why I've been effectively unemployable unless I'm self-employed. At least I can now make autism myth-busting videos on YouTube. And that's it. I thought this would never end. I've included a link to the Embrace Autism version of the RAADS-R that I filled out in the description below, as well as a link to the thankfully shorter RAADS-14. I scored a total of 167, which is categorized as very strong evidence for autism. No shocker there. And the RAADS-R also breaks down a number of other subscales. Language, 14, measures difficulties with language use, idiomatic expressions, etc. My score isn't super high here, possibly because of masking and coping strategies, and I've learned weird phrases, and I've practiced speaking my speaking skills over time. But I got it wrong just then. But editing is amazing. It makes me sound so much better. Social relatedness, 74. This is often the biggest driver of the overall RAADS-R scores for autistic people, because this bit contains the reading social cues or noticing when people are bored or all that sort of stuff. Sensory motor, which I get 40 on, which is not in the AQ, but a big one for many autistic folks. Stimming, reacting to loud noises, strong smells, that sort of thing. And circumscribed interests, 39, also known as special interests, where you deep dive into subjects you love, sometimes at the expense of other responsibilities. Your RAADS-R results as one piece of the metaphorical puzzle. If your score is high and you suspect you're autistic, consider further tests like the CAT-Q, which I covered in this earlier video. It's a great tool, especially if you're high masking, the CAT-Q. Also, look at your entire history. A formal adult autism assessment will look at your developmental background, mental health history, and might talk to family and friends. If you can't or don't want a formal assessment, and self-diagnosis can still be valid, ask family about your childhood traits. Sometimes you learn surprising things, like one of your first words might have been computer. You might have spoken a bit late, like mine and mine. Reach out for support. Whether you see yourself in the autism community or not, it never hurts to join a supportive network. Discord servers. I host one called The Scratching Post. It's fantastic. Local meetups, online forums. If you're unsure, talking to others on a similar journey helps. Just be cautious about spaces aimed at curing or overly framing autism sort of super pathologically. Videos of children in meltdowns can be a bit of a clue. Avoid. And stay curious, which sounds a bit wanky, but autism research keeps evolving and so many professionals are not up to date. You may well find that you are educating your doctor or your GP about autism. A recent article found in the journal Autism found that RAADS-R and RAADS-14 to be accurate, regardless of age or self-identification, and even suggested that you could drop 2 of those 4 question responses and still be valid. So new findings are always coming out. This one was just 3 months ago. And if you stick around on my channel, you'll see me talk about them. If you found this video helpful, check out my CAT-Q video, which covers autistic masking, a crucial topic that might be a game changer in understanding for you. It certainly was for me. Link right here and in the description. And by the way, there are about 200 people in my Scratching Post Discord community, and it still has that same lovely vibe as day one. It's a safe place to explore your identity, share experiences, or just hang out. Whether you're questioning, self-identified, formally diagnosed, or neurotypical, you are welcome. Access is through my Patreon at the lowest kitten tier at just $4 a month. Other tiers available too. Thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, give it a thumbs up and let me know your RAADS-R scores, or drop your favorite emoji in the comments. It really helps the channel to grow. And don't forget to stim the subscribe button for more content about navigating life as a late identified autistic adult.